steering wheel. Lapse the steering wheel, yeah. Give him steering wheel. Hey, steering wheel. Somebody tell him to give it to him. Come on! Whoa!
Your leg, my please. Your leg hip.
How the f*** that's possible?
I'm driving like a grandma. Get that, Ralph? Did you hear me? Proper radio. Ralph, acknowledge. Now, come on, close him down and kill him. We've got a lunatic on the track. Down that interstate.
Get to the show!
This is the show!
Boys and girls, your attention, please.
Hello and welcome back inside the Perfect Paper Podcast number 985. This is Todd.
No, Todd, not now.
A.K.A. Negative Camber. You know why I've asked you here.
You must convince the villagers that I'm harmless.
That's exactly what I need you to do tonight for your kind consideration. Oh, there's news. Don't you worry. There's news, all right. There's news to be found, and we're going to cover that news. But before I cover the news, you know what I got to do? I got to go all the way toward the right coast of our nation, nestled near our nation's capital. Not in it, but very, very near. You know her. You love her. The lovely, the redoubtable. Grace, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Todd. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well, trying to get over the bubonic plague I caught from a trade show. I'm still, going through, you can see over here, a box of tissues back here by my guitar.
Wasn't that like
there.
2 weeks ago? That's miserable.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, it's just like, you wonder, I don't want to get too graphic here, but, if you're human, you know what I'm talking about. How can a head produce that much that I have to blow my nose continuously?
It's one of the many wonders of the world.
It's a wonder of the world. It's like my nose is constantly super clipping. I don't know what the heck is going on.
Yes.
I'm not even lifting and coasting here.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Hey, before I get started, yes, go ahead. You were going to say something important and I stepped on you. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to crack a lame dad joke. I was just like, I think you should go to the doctor and be like, look, my nose is super clipping. They were like, what? Oh, you see.
Huh? Yeah, don't know what super clipping is? Well, after April 9th, you may not have to.
Oh, we can only hope.
See what I did there?
We can only hope.
Foreshadowing to this evening's notes. Hey, before I get started, huge thank you to our Patreon supporters, because if you're a Patreon supporter, I don't know if you knew this or not. Well, Patreon supporters know this. But I actually post the actual podcast and the video on our Patreon page with no commercials at all. So if you're a Patreon supporter, you don't have to listen to the commercials. If that's important to a person like you, then think about it. If it's not, and you like the commercials, well, that's fine too. Whatever. Hey, I'm just going to throw this. I got a caveat up front, okay. Grace. This podcast has a lot of notes. I made a lot of notes. All right. Yeah. Now I got criticized. So he said, well, I don't like, just watching the podcast and watching Todd read notes. I'm sorry. I'm just going to apologize up front. But, folks, maybe it's just me. But, I can't keep all of this in my head. And when I'm thinking it, I type it all out. So I have notes so I can reference to make sure that I'm trying to get as insightful information for you as possible. So I apologize if I'm reading a lot of notes this evening, but there's a lot of notes, all right?
You do you, man.
I'm going to do me.
If you read notes, people are going to be mad. If you don't read notes, people are going to be mad. You do
I
you.
know. I'm just going to do me. So when I'm looking up here, for those watching the video, I'm reading notes. When I'm looking down here, I'm looking at the soundboard. When I'm over here, I'm looking at lovely Grace. So just so you know. There you go.
Now we know when he's staring off over here, he's lost interest.
I'm totally disengaged.
Thinking of something else.
I'm totally disengaged. I'm not even thinking about the podcast anymore. I'm actually reading notes. All right.
That's right. It's fine.
All right. So the news cycle this week, March 31st to April 6th. What headlines are we going to cover tonight? Just so to keep you, this is what they call the bait on the hook, to keep you hooked for the entire hour and plus.
I think our charm is enough to keep people baited and hooked.
I've argued that for years. But
really.
What do I know? So these are what are we going to cover tonight? Well, we're going to cover the April 9th FIA Summit and the 6 regulation fixes on the table. We're going to cover that. Because Behrman's crash made the theoretical real. Going to cover Max Verstappen's retirement talk. Going to talk about Alpine's transformation from last place in 2025 to matching Red Bull 3 races in. and going to talk about the 5-week spring break. So those are the things we're going to talk about. I chopped off the last one because I thought this podcast was going to get very long. So here we go.
All right.
Let's jump into it, Grace. So obviously, the first thing we're going to talk about tonight is the whole April 9th FIA summit, when safety forces the hand on regulation rewrites. That's kind of where we are. So what's been confirmed? Let me just read through this.
Okay.
And I took copious notes here, and I scoured the interwebs. And what's confirmed? The team technical chiefs, the engine manufacturer reps, and senior figures from the FIA and F1 will all gather on April 9th to discuss tweaks to the 2026 rules. They hope to agree on a set of rule changes to come into play before the next race, the Miami Grand Prix on May 3rd. The race, the news place, with the effervescent Jonathan Noble and others.
With
Mark
the Ed
Lewis.
Straws and the Mitchell Moms and the Ben Andersons, those guys.
Yeah, that guy. That dude. They report that there's 6 specific proposals on the table, organized around 3 priority areas: safety, qualifying, and the speed drop at the end of the straights when battery power runs out. So we'll cover that. Those 6 levers behind in what's being discussed in this at this meeting. The first one. All right, I didn't do an exhaustive explanation, but I didn't just do it lightly either. I'm somewhere in between. The first one, raising the super clipping power limit from 250 kilowatts to 350 kilowatts to make harvesting under full throttle more effective than lift and coast, which would reduce the dangerous closing speed differentials that caused the Behrman crash. That's the first thing they're looking at. The second thing they're looking at, number 2, is revising the energy deployment mapping so cars don't dump all of their electric power early in a straight and run out before the braking zone, which is frustrating fans. Third, number 3, reducing the maximum energy recovery per lap, potentially from 9 megajoules down to as low as 6 megajoules, which would increase lap times but make energy management less extreme in the process. The fourth element, allowing drivers to use active aerodynamics freely across the entire circuit during qualifying, removing predefined zones, which recalls those sort of unrestricted DRS experiments they ran in 2011, 2012. If you've been watching long enough, you'll remember those. And fifth, simplifying the regulatory framework so performance relies more on driver skill and less on electronic control systems, with Lando's battery deciding he was going to pass Lewis and not Lando.
Correct.
And sixth and finally, exploring whether the ramp down rate for MGUK deployment should be made more aggressive so the speed decay is more gradual rather than hitting a cliff. So, what's the big deal here? Well, the meeting is not a routine review, folks. This is an extraordinary meeting. Behrman's 50G crash at Suzuka sort of made the abstract concrete for everyone involved. The difference in speed between Behrman and Colapinto is rumored around 50 kph. It's a consequence of Colapinto, who was harvesting injury while Behrman was deploying, and that was the dramatic difference in the speed differential that simply did not exist under the previous regulations. So Carlos, you'll recall, very outspoken, speaking as the GPDA director, was very blunt after the race, warning that the same scenario at a street circuit like Baku or Singapore could be catastrophic. And the stewards gave Colapinto no penalty because they said, as the race also pointed out, that this was a product of the rules themselves and not through driver error. So let's talk about a skeptic challenging the assumption to attack. The assumption might be, well, that's good, Grace and Todd. It's good that the FI is taking this seriously. I myself voiced things on the socials, someone might say. I was outraged, others might say, and I shared my thoughts prolifically. That's fine. The FIA will make meaningful changes before Miami. Now, the counterpoint to that, I would argue, is that every one of these 6 proposals has a team that benefits and a team that loses. Raising the super clipping limit, for example, could narrow the gap for teams whose power units are weaker in deployment mode, but widen it for teams like Mercedes, whose engine is already the benchmark. So keep that in mind. Changing the combustion engine output also immediately could risk pushing the components beyond what the levels they were designed for, triggering potential reliability concerns. Keep in mind, these engines were designed to have this amount of electric power and output, and the electric portion of this, the hybrid portion of this, was, let's just say the engine was doing X amount of heavy lifting and the electric was doing this amount of heavy lifting. Now, if the engine has to do more heavy lifting, what might that have impact on reliability, if any? But it is a concern. The real risk is that the meeting produces a watered-down compromise that addresses the optics of the problem without actually solving the physics of it. And that would be my counterpoint. So, Grace, let's talk about it. Is the FIA about to do surgery or apply a bandage, Grace?
So before we even get to that, I don't know how we got here in the first place.
Say more.
I mean, okay, I have 0 degrees in engineering, and the closest I ever get to a race car is I drive a car on the road. So the assumption being that the FIA isn't full of idiots, right? There are smart people there,
Yep.
people that know what they're doing,
That's
people
true.
that could have seen this, right? So if all the drivers in Australia are like, yo, this is a problem, why did we let this happen? The FIA let it happen. The team signed off on this. It's not like nobody thought this. We would be here 3 races in, or you didn't run simulations, or you didn't like stick people in sims and go run Japan. Oh, maybe this is a problem coming into the chicane. I don't understand how we got here. If there are people at the FIA that aren't idiots, now
Could it be groupthink?
No, I was going to say it's the O-ring problem, right? What usually happens is somebody did bring it up and somebody else squished it down, right? It's not
Is that a Challenger reference on the back of Artemis? Nice.
No, it's just a Challenger reference, but
okay.
but I mean that's right. Like, so when the Challenger exploded because of the O-rings, it wasn't that nobody said this was going to happen. It was that management said, "Well, we're not going to worry about that right now." Right? So that's what usually happens. It's not that nobody has said anything and everybody was caught off guard by it. It was brought up and shot down.
Max even discussed it 2 years ago, right?
So then why are we having this discussion now is what I don't understand, because we should not
That's
be
very
here.
true.
Because I think, again, as someone without a degree in engineering, so I don't understand short of the race and their pictures, right? Like, I need these infographics because how else am I going to ever understand what's going on here? But it seems like a problem when your energy can come in and out and you have no control over that. I mean, I remember when this happened, I was talking to Flip, like, depending on where you drive, but for me, DC driving is crazy. I come from like honk honk, hey neighbor, not honk honk, get out of my way, right? It's a different way of driving, right?
Yeah.
What happens here is you'll have one car that's going slow, another car is coming up on it really fast. This guy just jukes out of the lane, and you all of a sudden have rolled up on a really slow car because you didn't know he was going slow, because this guy never hit his brakes. He just rolled out of that lane at full speed, and all of a sudden you're also at full speed, and now you've rolled up on a car that's stopped, right? Or going way slower because you had no visual cue. Because most people where I grew up driving would pump their brakes and then switch lanes, not just switch lanes, right?
Right.
So that's
But
a
now
problem.
on the Beltway, they're not nice like that.
No, right? I mean, Miami's worse. But I mean, I'm just saying that, like, it was a change in how I had to learn how to drive, because I can no longer trust the car in front of me to give me cues about what traffic is ahead of me.
Yeah.
I always have to be prepared. The traffic could suck when that guy moves, right? So so I have to have brakes because I can't trust that guy to give me cues, right? So I don't understand how I just am not an engineer driving a road car and this seems to be a problem. Why wouldn't somebody see this as a problem, that all of a sudden somebody is going significantly slower than somebody else, and that Behrman has no way of knowing that Calapinto is going slow, and how is he not going to run into him? So I don't know how we got here, and that seems to be like the question that nobody's answering unless the FIA is full of idiots, which I don't believe. So then it's just somebody overruled
It's an
it.
O-ring. It's the O-ring.
Right. So that's how
I
we got
agree
here.
with you. So go back to the question. Are they going to do surgery or just apply a bandage?
They're not going to do anything. They're not going to do anything.
Well, that's why I put in the notes. Keep in mind that any changes they make will
They can't just
benefit
make
some
changes.
teams, and it'll be negative for other teams. And therefore, the teams will go at war because the
Yeah.
teams that are doing well don't want to change anything. The teams that are not doing well right now will want to change everything.
And
Right.
that's before you even get to Mercedes is going to
Yes.
do something and not give it to McLaren. And then I'm really going to be mad. Right?
Yes.
Right? Because they could fix it for their engine and nobody else's.
Yeah.
Well, that seems great too, right?
Everybody's getting the room, and they're going to try to compel these teams to all agree that these are the changes we're going to make. And the teams will not. This goes
Just
so far beyond liberty. This back in the day, Bernie Ecclestone was
yes,
famous
right. Like-
for saying, "You'll never get the teams to all agree on anything," and he was right. You won't, because some will benefit and some won't. And I don't know. That's the issue. So another question, if the fundamental issue is that the 50-50 electrical to combustion power split creates inherently unpredictable speed differentials, as you were just describing,
Right.
can any parameter tweak actually fix it? Or is this a design philosophy problem that will haunt the sport for these regulation years?
Well, for at least this year, right?
Yeah.
Because I think that you could make changes, but not 3 races into a season, right? And it's
yeah.
not like we can wait until we get to Europe and then say, okay, we're going to make changes, right? Like
Yeah.
this stuff it's already in the books. They can't turn on a dime. And so I think you could make changes. So they may say, okay, we're going to change these things, but not until 2027. I think it is
Yeah.
the immediate change now and further down the road for 2026, because you have to think of somebody like Williams, right? They're going to have to throw all their spreadsheets out the window, right? It's not just
Yeah.
that like this could harm Mercedes, but you have other teams that are already building towards what we currently have in front of us. And now you're just going to like 4 races in say, no, we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah, right.
So
right.
I don't see how they can, because it's going to stress parts. It's going to change how they drive the cars. It just seems like you're just adding more chaos,
Right.
which is the
Right.
opposite of safety, right?
Yeah, right. And just so you Mercedes fans, I see your comments out there. I'm going to represent you. The next question is, are these proposals about making cars safer or about making Mercedes less dominant?
It's always about making the other car less dominant.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
They'll
that's
tell you
always
it's
true.
safety. They will tell you it's safety.
I feel
But-
like I've been quoted many times on the show. Safety is like patriotism. You can't fight it. It's a thing. It's not a real thing, right? It's the war on drugs. It's just some words, right? And it's an easy way to shut down any argument. Well, do you hate safety? Are you against the country?
Are you against
Are you not
safety?
patriotic? Right? It just shuts down the conversation. And so
Right.
it is, of course, nobody wants the racing to be unsafe, but that is not the reason they'll make change. They'll make change because what they're trying to eliminate, and I feel so bad for Jarno Trulli, they're trying to eliminate the Trulli trains. And they
Yeah.
have yet come up with another way to try to eliminate a Trulli train, and that's why I feel bad, Jarno Trulli, lovely guy, but Trulli trains, and they've just created a new way to have a Trulli train.
Yeah.
And now you've screwed up qualifying too, so now what am I watching?
Right. And you know what's interesting, and I'm telling on my own team here, but when Ferrari expressed confidence about getting a power unit upgrade through the ADUO system, and rivals start framing safety fixes as competitive rebalancing, then every regulation change becomes political. You know?
Right.
And just so those, if you're listening, you don't know what the ADUO system is, it was introduced in late 25. It allows manufacturers to receive one in-season upgrade if their engine lags by 2 to 4% after the first 6 races, but adjusted to 4 races due to the Bahrain and Saudi Arabia cancellation. So it looks like Ferrari is going to be able to upgrade their engine through the ADUO because they're saying that they're that far off, and the FIA agrees. So, but in that case, though, here we go. We're a regulation change. We're doing this. Every change becomes political, and it will always be that way. Any changes they make to any one of the 6 levers that they're discussing on the table will benefit some teams and penalize others, and so therefore, it's going to be very difficult to pass anything.
I don't think they're going to do anything. I think they're just going to get in a room together. They're going to have a nice lunch, and then everybody goes home. But we have the optics of we met.
Yeah. And it's a tough thing because the real question ends up being whether the FIA can make changes that are genuinely about the spectacle and safety without being captured by teams using the process to close the gap on Mercedes. And of course, teams are going to do that. They're going to advocate for changes to slow down Mercedes. Yeah.
That's their job.
It is their job. That's exactly what they're going to use these discussions to. They're going to be planning sessions ahead of this meeting. They're going to go in and advocate certain changes that they feel will do the most harm to Mercedes, and they will couch it as some sort of safety thing. Yeah.
So I go back to,
I'm not holding my breath.
I don't know how we got here. That still seems to me to be the question. If I was able to talk to Stefano in his Mickey Mouse getup, that's the question I would ask him is, why did you let us get here? You are an engineer, right? Like, you do know these things. You do have a comprehension and understanding. You sat on the pit wall of Ferrari. How did we get here? I'm not sure. Everything is more complicated than what I can understand from, again, some race video infographics. But it seems like as long as you are allowing the electricity to, it would be like if it was gas and you were just like, well, now you have gas, now you don't, right? Like, I don't understand how I don't have my fuel, I don't have my power source all the time. I don't know how that's supposed to work, right?
Yeah, I know. And it's I think this whole thing is a bit of a Hail Mary. I think the FIA and the F1 are going, oh my God.
Oh no, it all went wrong.
These regulations are not working, and even the fans now are revolting.
So I don't know if you've played Mario Kart, but I think that what this reminded me of, I was like, so when you're at the you're waiting for the lights to go out on Mario Kart, if you just mash the accelerator, it automatically gives you lag off the line. I'm like, this really is Mario Kart. Like, what? Like, I should push the gas and go, or not push the gas and not go. Like, anything other than pushing the gas and the brake and they responding the way I expect them to is a problem. And I don't know how do you, again, I don't have a very good memory, but I don't know how you're supposed to retain that, like, oh, I let out 4 joules and I only have 2 more that I can use. Oh no, here comes this turn. I guess I get more joules again. All right. Like, I don't know how you're supposed to be able to manage this on, like, like a fuel gauge, right? Like a fuel gauge. I know how much fuel I have. I don't know. And same thing in Formula E. They only have one power source. It has you know what I mean? Like, so I'm almost out of battery. This seems to be on every lap, you're in battery, out of battery. I think that would be really hard,
and it changes
for human to manage. Right.
So the algorithm's changing, and it's learning, and wait a minute, I only have 2, and I thought I had 4, and now I have 3, and then I have none. Whoa, wait a minute, now I'm harvesting, now I'm passing Lewis, and I didn't want to pass Lewis, right?
And you can't have. Currently the cars only have 1 light, so there's only so much information 1 light on the back of the car can communicate. It's like a horn, right? There's only so much a horn can communicate.
Right.
And because, like, could you move up a little bit and get out of my way? Sound the same on a horn, right? So there's only so much information they can convey, and you don't want to convey too much information because now it's like using a turn signal, right? Some people use turn signals, some people don't. The reason they don't is because now I'm telling you that I'm going into that lane and that person speeds up, so I can't cut in front of them, right?
Right.
So if you use your turn signal, you lose the advantage on the beltway of being able to get into the lane you want to. So there's only so much they ever want to communicate on the light on the back of the car, right? It should only be for rain or something where, like, everybody universally has it on. I don't know.
Agreed.
I don't know. To me, every time I think I don't understand, but I don't know how we got here. It seems like smart people let something happen that should have never happened.
I know. And it just has me going,
hey, what happened?
What happened? I have no idea.
I hope somebody asks that question and they have a lovely lunch together. I don't know where they're I guess they're meeting in Paris. Are they meeting in Paris like the FIA offices? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I missed that detail.
I haven't seen where they're meeting, just that they're meeting. But I hope they have some nice, like, tea, some good croissants, something, with some chocolate. And they just meet for an hour and a half. they just talk about the kids and their vacations and what they're doing for 4 weeks.
Right.
And then Domenicali just walks out and wrings his hand and goes, I don't know, it was so hard, and we really can't make any changes this season. And
But the chicken piccata was really good.
right? Something.
Nice.
Because I don't see how now is going to make a change.
Right. I don't either. All right. Moving on, folks.
Okay.
Segment number 2.
Because my rage isn't already enough. Let's move on to segment 2.
I know. I'm totally with you there. I'm just totally with you. I am just flummoxed how we ever went this far down the rabbit trail to launch and just to have this, complete you-know-what show.
I don't know.
Shit box.
Come on. It's to the point where the segment 2 is Max Verstappen's retirement talk and what it means to franchise players who wants out, right? Well, let's talk about what's confirmed. Max told the BBC he's considering retiring from F1 at the end of 2026, says he's not enjoying the sport in Japan. He kind of doubled down on that, telling reporters he needs to figure out whether he still wants this after 2026, as he's not enjoying driving the cars under the new regs. ESPN had an article reported that he's leaning more towards a sabbatical than a full retirement, but also reports that he has a contract clause allowing him to leave if he's not in the top 2 of the championship by mid-season. So the reality of that is...
Who signed that contract?
Woo! Well, we know it wasn't Christian.
Who signed... You have to be in the top 2?
You can't blame Horner on this one.
I agree, but I just was like, I get why Max Verstappen signed that. That's what I would sign too. But why would Red Bull agree to that? Not top 5, top 6, top 2?
Yeah, top 2.
Really?
Well, you talk about a retention move. Wow.
I don't have the hubris for that kind of a signing.
That's a serious compromise retention move there. Red Bull finished the Japanese Grand Prix with Verstappen at 8th, held off for the entire second half of the race by Pierre Gasly in an Alpine of all things. Team boss Laurent Mekies conceded that Red Bull are, quote, a distant 4th in the 2026 order behind Mercedes, Ferrari, and now McLaren. The team sits on 16 points, Grace, after 3 races, which is equal with Alpine. After
And McLaren didn't race. They had 3 races where they didn't have drivers.
Didn't have drivers, right. And they're still ahead.
That's nuts.
They're on 16 points. After the Chinese Grand Prix, Verstappen invited Mekies and engineer Jean-Pierre Lambiase, GP, to fly home on his private jet with him for what sources described as an unprecedented frank talk session.
I want to get called into the principal's office like that. If I mess up, my boss just pulls me. I mean, I don't, but it would just pull me into his office. I'm more likely to be drugged down the pit lane by my ear than, join me on my private jet. We'll have some champagne and a frank talk about things. What?
Yes.
I'm in the wrong profession is what this is.
Me too.
Come on.
And Red Bull reportedly doesn't have the budget headroom for major RB22 upgrades without cutting into their 27 development programs.
Of course.
So this is getting pretty serious over there. Why? So I know all the people that hate Max. They're like, he's just grousing because he's not in the best car and blah, 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 blah.
I don't think that's true.
That isn't it at all, folks. I mean, I get your point. I understand you don't like Max, but that honestly, he was complaining about these 2 years ago. There's video all over the internet where he's saying that.
And I think it's fair. I cut you off, but I'm going to keep with it. It's fair to say, you know what? Usually, I show up to Todd's house and he serves me a nice Belgian beer. And so when I go to Todd's house, I expect a nice Belgian beer. I show up at Todd's house. Now he's serving me Corona. This isn't cutting it. I'm out. I'm not going to Todd's house anymore. Right? Because I came in expecting some nice Belgian beer and you're giving me a Corona that sat in a train car at the Mexican border because we wouldn't let it in, right? So I get it. The things have, whether I like Max or not as a human, the formula has changed. We've moved from Belgian beer to Corona. I don't like this anymore. I don't want to do it. I can get out of my contract. I don't need the money. I have kids at home. I'm out, right? Do it.
Right. No, it's
I need health care, so I can't do it. So you should do it for all of us.
Yeah. Max is used to Trappist Westmala, and now we're getting him Dos Equis. It's like, what?
exactly what I'm saying. So I think it is fair that if you signed up for a certain formula, that formula has changed, you no longer enjoy that formula, and you are able to leave, then you should leave, because that's what all of us would do.
Well, that's just it. Max has been pretty clear on this, folks. He said he would accept being 7th or 8th. His issue is the fundamental characteristic of driving experience that has changed. And he finds, in his words, emotionally draining. He's a 4-time world champion, 71 career wins, who is spending weekends managing battery algorithms rather than racing. When a driver of that caliber and that commercial value starts talking publicly about whether it's worth being in the sport, it's not a negotiating tactic. It's a risk factor for every commercial partner Red Bull has, but it's not a negotiating tactic. And some people say, well, Verstappen is just leveraging for a better contract or to pressure the FIA. Pressuring the FIA to make changes so his car be better and all that. And I'd say that the counterpoint is that there was an article from former BMW and Ferrari engineer Ernest Noors, and he warned that Verstappen's repeated hints about walking away could weigh on Red Bull's engineering staff. If you're one of 1,000 people working to improve the RB22 and your lead driver is publicly saying he doesn't want to be here, that is a morale problem that compounds on the performance problem they're already having. And if the exit clause is triggered at mid-season, Red Bull faces the prospect of losing the most marketable driver in the sport while simultaneously being uncompetitive. So I don't think, why would you think Max is just belly aching because he hadn't had fastest car? Oh, I thought he was a world champion and he should be able to do things in a less than competitive car. Yeah. That's all bunk. That's just I hate Max talk. All right. The fact of the matter is that Max talked publicly about these regulations. He had serious doubts about them 2 years ago and was very vocal about it. They manifest themselves. He was 100% spot on to be concerned about him. He hates driving these cars. This isn't what he signed up for, and he doesn't like it. He doesn't enjoy it. And Max, he doesn't have to do Formula One. He can go do anything he wants to do.
He can do nothing.
Yeah, he can do nothing. So, and you've been around Max long enough to know that he is like that. I mean, he could give him the middle finger and just walk and go to Le Mans. I mean, it doesn't matter to him. He's not. He wasn't like Lewis, where he's got to beat Schumacher's record. He doesn't care.
That's not what motivates him. Everybody's motivated with something different, right?
Right.
That to him is, if it's not fun, if I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it. And he's in a position where he can do that. I mean, again, I think we've all taken jobs or worked on projects because you wanted to work with that person. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So if you started like, I finally leveraged myself to get on this project so I can work with this person, and that person's like, I'm retiring. Boy, you'd be sad.
Yeah.
Right? I went through all this to get here, and I can't fault you for retiring, but now here I am, right? So I agree with that 100%, that there are people who worked at Red Bull because they wanted that Red Bull, and that Red Bull is disappearing like sand right out from underneath them, and that's going to be hard. And they're in a field where there are very limited other options, right?
Yeah,
there's only 11 teams where you're going to go, and Max can, but you also have to think of yourself. Again, I've been in bad jobs, but I don't have the opportunity. I don't have the luxury of just being able to go. Yeah. Right, I have to find another job before I can go, or some amount of savings before I can just go. Max didn't have any other problem. He's got health care. He can do what he wants. So if you don't want to do this, man, you go. And I think that also, I think the last time I was on, we talked about the British tabloid churn, and that's just now everywhere. Whereas it's we used to just joke about that's just Bild, which is German. I get it, right? And you really can't. You have to take all their stories with the world's biggest grain of salt, because they're just muckraking. And now that's where we are with everything. So
it is.
I think it is also fair to be both tired of Max Verstappen and understanding of Max Verstappen. Do I want to hear him complain about the same? I don't. Either go or don't go. But I do think this is legitimate, because if he was just trying to negotiate a better contract, that's when you go say, oh, well, Ferrari has the best cappuccino on the grid. Right?
Yeah, right.
That's how you get a better contract negotiation, not I'm leaving.
Yeah, right. And so, it kind of thinks, all right, so what does Red Bull do? Well, let's be honest, you can't manufacture a winning car by Miami. That's not going to happen.
Even this season.
No, you can't change the regulations unilaterally, so it takes all the teams. You're watching your greatest asset depreciate in real time. That's really, really tough for this team. Does Verstappen at Nürburgring 24 hours this month look like a man taking a mental health break or like a man auditioning for life after F1? Right?
Man.
I don't know. And here's the business question that I don't think a lot of people are asking out loud. If Verstappen does leave, does that accelerate Red Bull's decline, or does it free up cap space and organizational energy for a genuine rebuild around Hadjar or whoever comes next?
I guess you hope for the latter.
Yeah.
Isaac, it's all resting on your shoulders, right? Like, because they're going to have, those are some big shoes. Because I don't know that he's going to leave mid-season. I mean, that seems pretty, he could, right?
He could.
But that seems like a lot. And I think that the team is going to try to do everything it can for that to not happen, because that certainly will, and the flowers won't still be standing after you pull the tablecloth out from under the table, right? So you don't want that to happen. So they're going to do everything they can to keep him to the end of the season. Now, if he leaves at the end of the season, it's a lot harder to prevent that from happening. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, Isaac's shoulders are carrying everything.
Yeah, it's a lot of weight.
And that's a big change for that team. And
huge.
In a year, right? Like in the course of a year, they've lost Christian Horner, lost Helmut Marko. Before that, it's just been a lot of upheaval at that team. And it is always, the person that comes after the founder is always where it becomes interesting, right? So
yeah, right.
What this iteration of Red Bull looks like, we don't know, because we've never seen another iteration of Red Bull.
Right. We haven't. And
it's not McLaren or Ferrari, or Ferrari that has a new iteration every year. I think Fred is the longest tenured now, after the Schumacher years of somebody on the pit wall, right? Like, so it's going to be a big change. And even with Mekis, who is by all means doing a good job, and is steeped in the team, it's still a change.
It would be a huge void. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
And we don't know. We're not privy to all the things that Max is privy to. Maybe it's not. So you were talking in the first story about how people will use safety as a cover, right? Because it shuts down the conversation. For Max, there may be lots of things we don't know about, but just saying, I don't like the racing. It's like little kids learn when you ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? That if you say lawyer, adults go, ooh, a lawyer. So then you always say lawyer, even though you don't actually know what a lawyer does because you're 6.
Yeah, right.
But the adults all go, ooh and ah, and you like the oohing and the ahhing, so you just keep saying lawyer, right? So I think that you could see where he says that, people go, oh, you're right, the racing does suck, and they don't ask him the deeper questions. It's just enough. I just want to be a lawyer, and people ooh and ah, and we move on. But I'm sure there's a lot going on there that we don't know about.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. I don't know. Watch this space. I don't know what will happen mid-season. But anyway, we'll see. Hey, Alpine, a little bit of a quiet revolution when they sacrificed their 2025 development, which actually does appear to be paying off. Now, I refuse.
Yeah. I refuse this story. I refuse to let this be truth.
So does Paul.
Refuse.
Paul was giving me crap because in the preseason I was all in on Alpine.
I refuse.
I was all in, and everybody. I even had a couple of people DM me and said, "What, dude? Your Alpine predict? What were you thinking?" And I was like, I feel like it will work. All right, because they spent all last year developing this year's car, and they knew they were getting a Mercedes, and the Mercedes is sort of the class of the field as far as power units go, and I feel like it's going to work, and I feel like Alpine could be, right up there, 4th fastest car, 4th, whatever. All right.
There's no way. I refuse. I refuse this storyline.
And nobody believed me. I was like the sound of one hand clapping.
And you're going to continue to be that way. I refuse.
I know. And so does Paul. Paul's giving me crap about it too.
There's no way. I mean, I get it. They if they do really become Mercedes B team, right? If they become
Yeah.
the V carb to Racing Bull. Well, okay, then I guess that is possible. But I don't know. It's Alpine. And I'm waiting for like the 6 other shoes to drop. This just can't be.
I know. Well, I do have a caveat of all my Alpine love. I'll get into that. So what's confirmed? Well, Alpine sits equal on points with Red Bull after 3 races with 16 points. Gasly scored points in every race, held off Verstappen for the entire second stint in Japan. The team finished dead last in 2025 with 22 points across the whole season. They already have nearly matched that total in just 3 weekends. That's the reality. Is it a genuine case study? Well, Alpine made a decision early in 25 that most teams would not have the governance courage really to make, if you think about it. They acknowledged their Renault power unit was not competitive, period. And so they shut down their engine program entirely, committed to becoming a Mercedes customer team, and pivoted development and resources in 2025 all towards their 2026 car. Months before their rivals. And that meant a deliberately terrible 2025 season. Now, here's what's interesting. They finished last. They accepted the criticism for being last, but they betted everything on a reset. And Gasly, this is why Paul and I, and Grace, I know you do too, we all rate Pierre very highly.
Oh, yeah.
Gasly was the first to endorse this strategy, telling the team to forget about 25 and start working on 26 as early as possible. And I got to be honest with you guys, that kind of driver alignment with a painful organizational decision like that is rare and worth discussing. And that's, I don't want to overstate it, but think about what Pierre was saying last year, right? That takes a lot to be that aligned with the team.
His time is short.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, right? It's the Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes problem, right? Like, Mercedes, you may figure this out in 5 years, but I won't be racing anymore, so I can't wait that time. Gasly's in that same situation, right? If this doesn't pan out, he's Alonso, right? Like, that's not good.
Yes. And the switch, as it turns out, to Mercedes power has given them what Gasly calls a completely different league of a car. And Briatore's confidence is grounded in the fact that their pace has been consistent across 3 very different tracks. That's true. And that's good. So what's the assumption to attack here? Well, I think, if you're thinking, well, hey, Alpine's early form is a mirage and they're going to fall back eventually. And maybe there's a counterpoint to this argument. And that counterpoint, I don't know that counter argument is actually wrong, but Red Bull may be underperforming their car. And McLaren's early reliability issues certainly masked their pace until we saw in Japan. So, boom, when they actually did race, they were there, right? But there is a structural argument for Alpine's position that holds true. They have a competitive power unit. We know that. And they invested more development time in this platform than a lot of other people did in the midfield. And Gasly's driving with the kind of confidence that compounds performance, really. Mm-hmm. The real test here, I think you would agree with me, Grace, is whether their development rate keeps pace with the teams that have a larger budget
100%.
And deeper ticket. And I think that's my caveat 100%. I'm offering. And I think that's why you're saying you're not buying the whole story, because wait till we get to the development war, Alpine ain't going to be able to hang in there.
Yeah, we'll see at the fall break, what it looks like, yeah.
Yeah. So is Alpine a case study for why manufacturer teams should not exist in F1? It's kind of like, well, we were Renault, but now we're going to be Alpine, and we're going to sell a big portion of the team, and we're going to stop using our Renault engines.
Maybe. Well, and maybe if it's just you're not a very good engine manufacturer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. They were worse as an engine builder than they are as a customer. That's just a harsh reality. For sure. It's a brutal indictment, of the investment versus return math of running your own power unit program. Right. It didn't work. And for any executive watching the sport who's considered manufacturer status, Alpine certainly could be a cautionary tale and, a recovery tale all in one package, right? So
it's just one all-around case study.
It is.
Perfect.
It's rags to riches, right? To rags to riches. What does Alpine's rise tell us? Well, what does it tell us about Red Bull's decline? Both teams run different power unit strategies. Both are being measured against the same Mercedes benchmark. If Alpine can match Red Bull while spending less and running someone else's engine, what exactly is Red Bull's in-house power unit program delivering right now? Right? Some food for thought. I've been watching F1 long enough to say I understand. Yes, I was all in on Alpine at the beginning of the season, but I'm equally as concerned about their development war pace and the rate of development they'll be able to hang in there and retain this pace advantage. So we'll see.
So I'm going to, much like Max Verstappen, I'm just going to forget we had this conversation. And like 10 races from now, I'm just going to be like, see, I told you, Todd, I told you, I told you, right? Like, I know your caveat. I'm just going to ignore it because it makes it more fun for me to act like you were all in on Alpine without any realistic belief about what that team can or cannot do. That's not as much fun.
I know. Yeah, Paul would do the same. He said, oh, see, you were all in on Alpine, weren't you? Look at them. They suck now. You know, they're sinking to the back.
We're such a supportive group of friends you have.
I know. He'll give me hell about it, too.
But,
you both would be on me.
This is, I think that, and I do think that if Alpine really is finally becoming an actual B team, this is the way to go. And I think that Gasly, I do rate Gasly well. I do think that, if somebody was going to knock some heads together, it would be Flavio Briatore, right? Like, I think if anybody was able to go, listen, I can't do his accent, and I don't speak as if I have 700 marbles in my mouth, but, like, listen, right, listen, if you want to be successful, we have to do this, this, and this. Are you going to do those things? No, then you're out, and we're going to do these things, right? Like, he is definitely the harbinger of hard truths, and
he is.
If anybody was going to get this team going in a direction that was upward, even if it's not this upward, right?
Right.
Even if it's like a P7 upward and not a P4 upward or, something like that.
Yeah.
But still upward, and I do believe in Flavio. But I do think they have a lot of issues that they need to figure out for sort of long-term sustainability.
Yeah, Flavio's won 4 world championships, 2 with Benetton and 2 Renault.
He knows what he's doing,
Then he cheated with Crashgate and got kicked out of F1, but
whatever, we don't talk about.
Let's blame that on Pat Simmons.
It was all his idea.
It was all Pat Simmons. He made me do it.
I told him to pay Junior, right? Why didn't he do that? He had the bags of cash, and he just couldn't get there fast enough.
What the hell? All right. Let's see. I wanted to talk about this 5-week break. Certainly some conversation, and I'm not saying anybody's right or wrong out there. I'm just saying I see people saying, hey, this 5-year rule, this would be great for the sport, and they could fix the
It's not how it works.
Things, and the teams can all cure their ills and all that kind of stuff.
That's not how it works.
Yeah. So the 5-week break and the hidden competitive dynamics of racing. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Okay.
Let's talk. All right. F1 is 1 week into a 5-week break between events before the season reviews in Miami on May 1st to 3rd. The break was forced by the cancellation of Bahrain, Saudi Arabia. You remember that due to the Middle East conflict. Ferrari is going in this interim. Ferrari will run a wet tire test for Pirelli at Fiorano on April 9th and 10th. Mercedes and McLaren will test dry tires for Pirelli at the Nürburgring on April 14th and 15th. Okay. Now, Verstappen, in the meanwhile, will race in the ADAC Nürburgring 24-hour qualifiers on April 18th and 19th. And not done yet, Lance Stroll is going to make his GT racing debut at Paul Ricard.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, see, Paul, Lance is looking at GT racing. The big question is, does he have the phone number to Ian over at Hard Racing?
I'm just saying.
Just saying.
Lance.
Just saying. Can you imagine Paul Charsley being the sporting manager of the Heart of Racing, working with Lance Stroll on that team?
I don't know. I think what would be more fun is that, so we're talking about Max Verstappen leaving halfway through the season. What if it's actually Lance Stroll who leaves?
Yeah. I vision if Lance was on that team with Paul, He'd be like Han Solo and Chewie. He goes, "What are you doing taking this stuff over? We're trying to go. No, this goes there. That goes there."
Right.
Yeah, I could see that.
All right.
So why is this break not equal? Well, it's not. I hate to break that news to you, but the break disproportionately benefits teams with clear problems to solve and the organizations that have capacity to solve them. That's the key thing here. Ferrari is a prime example. The race had that report that the power unit gap to Mercedes is around 20 brake horsepower, and Ferrari is fairly confident of being allowed to upgrade through the ADUO system during this break. 4 uninterrupted weeks in the factory to integrate a power unit upgrade while also refining their aerodynamic package is an absolute gift for a team like Ferrari. It's perfect. It's exactly what they need. For Mercedes, they've got the capacity to do it. The break's about consolidation and preparation for whatever regulation changes could occur from April 9th. They'll be able to tack on that. For Red Bull, the break is kind of existential, with Mecky's admitting the team needs it to address fundamental issues, but budget constraints limit their options. It may be a little bit more difficult for them. So it's not going to be the same for all teams. And you might say the assumption is that everyone uses the brake the same way. It's the same way for everyone. And my counterpoint...
It's not.
Yeah, my counterpoint to that, the break rewards infrastructure, folks. Williams boss James Vowles said its drivers are going to be running simulator every single day. The crew is practicing pit stops on most available days.
Sure.
That's a team that knows exactly what it needs to do, where it needs to focus, and what needs to happen. Contrast that with Aston Martin, which finally got Alonso to the finish in Japan in 18th place, a lap down, mind you.
Right.
Their break is not about optimization. It's about survival engineering at this point. Right? And so the big so in this, Grace, is, does the brake produce a convergent or divergent grid in Miami?
So I think in some ways it's just wasted time. So I think that, again, in some ways Formula One is nothing like my job. In some ways Formula One is just like my job, right? If all of a sudden you were working on 2 projects, and one of those projects, you didn't get something, and so you have to wait for a part to come in. I don't know, right? But you suddenly have a 3-week break. Does that mean you get to devote more time to the other project? Well, yeah, but do you need to devote more time to the other?
Right.
It's not equal, right? You planned out your life to be a certain way, and your projects fall a certain way, and now all of a sudden it's but they don't. I was already giving everything I could to that other project. This just frees things up. So it's not like you can, and I think you're right. And I think it depends on the problem. It depends on what your organization looks like. I don't think that we're going to get to Miami and Williams is suddenly going to be P2. That's not going to happen. No matter how much Carlos Sainz would love to be pole position, it's not going to happen, right? Because that is just not the nature of the problem. And you have already set out your resources and what the rules allow for certain parts of the season. We had no way of knowing at Australia that this is where we were going to be at this time of the year. And so project management doesn't really just allow for, all of a sudden I have a 3-week gap, let's do some stuff.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
I just don't think that we may get to Miami and it may be no different at all. And maybe for some teams, like you said, Ferrari, I agree. Ferrari could possibly be better, right?
Yeah.
But I don't see that, it's not like Cadillac is suddenly going to be amazing.
No, I don't see it either. I think history would suggest that development breaks help the best resources teams, and the most, really.
Right.
They have the deepest engineering benches, the most sophisticated simulation tools. If Mercedes comes to Miami with a car that's now completely understood and a set of regulations that may have been tweaked in their favor during April 9th meeting, well, the cap could grow rather than shrink. It just depends. The other angle nobody is really talking a lot about, though, is the throwaway comment that I had in the first bullet, which is these Pirelli tests.
Yeah.
Ferrari gets wet tires. Mercedes and McLaren get dry tires. Those test days are not neutral, folks. They provide real-world data that teams can use to correlate their simulations, even if the primary purpose is tire development for Pirelli. Which test assignment is more valuable in a season where tire management is a bigger differentiator than ever? Probably the dry tire running.
Yeah.
Right?
How many races are wet? How many are dry?
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. So, yeah, I think Mercedes and McLaren get the benefit of the dry tire test.
Yeah, because even if you're just like just trying to get a peak, right? Like these aren't the Pirelli tires that they're going to try in the off season are not what's going to end up on the track.
Yeah.
It's a peek at the direction.
It is.
Right? It's more information than the other teams have about what they're trying out.
Yeah.
Right? Because it doesn't benefit Pirelli to put out like bunk tires. Like, we're just going to give you squares and you're going to roll those around. No, these have to be tires that help their development, and therefore you get an unfair advantage. You get some inside information by having these tires. And I guess there's either these tire tests are spread across the teams, or you lose resources. Like, there has to be some way that this isn't completely just free for Mercedes and McLaren to gain this information. Yeah. I don't have any insight into what that is, because otherwise, why would the other teams let them do this?
Yeah, and keep in mind that dry weather tire is the 14th and 15th of this month, which will be after April 9th's meeting. So Mercedes may have a good idea on what could more likely be the decisions of the 6 elements that they might change than others, and already start prepping to test some of those changes at this test, right?
Yeah, so then I don't know why, Red Bull isn't up in arms, right? Or
if I was Alpine or anybody else, Williams or anybody, I'd say, well, I want to help with the test. Why can't we do that, Or
can I at least get the data off of it?
Yeah, they may share standardized data. I remember in the past there was discussions about these in-season testing, and I could be wrong on this. Somebody check me on this, but I believe that on these tests, the data that came out of that was shared with all of the teams, so they could see the performance of the tires, so there wasn't some sort of lasting advantage that the teams that actually did the mule work benefited where nobody else does.
Yeah, there has to be something, because otherwise nobody would let this happen, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that makes sense. And
I assume that's still the sentiment that they're still doing, I would imagine. But anyway. So watch this space on who makes the most advantage. Like I said, the break is important, but history will always tell you, folks, that it favors the bigger teams, the teams with more infrastructure, more process, and more resources.
Also, I feel like we've now moved from a traditional school calendar to a year-round school calendar, where we just race for 3 months and then we're off for a month. We race for 3 months, then we're off for a month. Right.
I can't wait to see the races in January 2nd, 3rd of 2020.
Right, like what? Yeah. I feel like, didn't we just get, like, my momentum is shot. Like, didn't we just get started, and now we're on a break?
And now we're on a 5-week break. Like,
nobody knew this was coming, but when we do get to Miami, it's like, I feel like it'll be Australia all over again. It's Groundhog Day, right? Like, here we are again.
Yeah, and then they're going to race, and then with summer break. Oh.
Right. I just feel like we race for 3 months, then we're off for a month.
Yeah,
and
that's exactly right.
And again, just like how I complain that I'm exhausted by how many races there are, and I don't go anywhere. I don't leave my couch. I don't know how the circus deals with this. Like, it would just be so much ramp up and ramp back down again that I don't know. I just feel like it would be really hard. But maybe you just don't lift that gift horse in the mouth, and just take your extra time off and do what you got to do.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's do, it's something we like to call Alvin's Cats. Because Alvin likes his cats, has nothing to do with F1, and neither does this. So that's why we call Alvin's Cats.
I also like cats and have...
You love cats, Grace.
Only so much. I'm only marginally related to Formula One, so... Right. We're fine. We're same. Right. We're all good. Okay,
and
so...
I don't have any no-shit headlines because, it's just... There wasn't much good headlines.
I think we'll just have to wait until after the meeting. Maybe the meeting's in Italy. Maybe that's why Ferrari gets the wet tire trial, right? Like,
that could be.
If you can't... Paris is pretty good food. If you can't be in Paris, I'd be in Italy, right? Like, I think these are...
great food.
Right. I'm just saying, if you're going to have a meeting, you should have a good lunch. I think that's the least you can get out of it, right?
I've had lunch with the chief, the global marketing director, CMO for Ferrari. I had lunch at the Cavallino across the street, and with the engine developers for Ferrari. Had lunch there. Had dinner at Montagna's. Incredible.
There you go. I'm saying.
Food.
So I think I think it's kind of like Bernie Ecclestone. They used to always say that Bernie Ecclestone always had the last race in Brazil because he wanted Felipe Massa to win a championship. I think have your meeting where you want to eat. I think this is the same logic, right?
It is. They should do it at the Cavallino. So we ate in the same room that Enzo used to have his lunch in, and there's a long table, and there's a famous picture of that long table and the seat he sat in. Now, I didn't see it until I got back home. But I was sitting in the same place that Enzo always sat in. Yeah, I was.
That's right.
It was amazing.
Right. That's like the picture that you took of me when we were in Austin, sitting in Adrian Newey's pit lane seat.
Yes.
As if I'm Adrian Newey, right? Like,
yes, exactly.
This is where I sit on the pit wall. That's right.
Adrian and I are like this, man.
I sit in this seat right here.
That's right.
Same. Very much. That's pretty great, though.
It was great. Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see where the meeting is because again, I haven't seen anybody report where the meeting is. So that's always my priority.
My home should be Paris, but yes, I agree with you.
Yeah. So okay. So my no shit headlines. Speaking of Ferrari, maybe you saw this little story about your friend Kimi Antonelli and how apparently Ferrari had the chance to have Kimi Antonelli.
Oh, and Maurizio, arriva bene. Yes.
No, he's too small. But did you see who it was that said he's the guy?
Who?
So Massimo Rivola, who is now the team principal at I almost said Alpine. That's terrible. Aprilia over MotoGP.
Yes.
So, like the smartest guy out there, and he said you should hire Kimi Antonelli, and Arriva Bene was like, no, he's too small, and he's like, okay, well I'm going to go to MotoGP now, and I'm going to just dominate everything, and you don't get Kimi Antonelli. So take that, Ferrari. This was like the story that like paid me twice in the like
I know.
egg on your face,
good.
Ferrari. So plus I did love. I guess it was the race. I was like, because somebody had pictures, and so it was just so funny because like Kimi is like 12 still, but he's really young. But then you also get to see all these it's like, oh yes, Arriva Bene, oh the olden days, and there's Rivola who's like 22 in these photos. It was like, back in the old days. So
back in the old days.
I'm just saying,
it was so good. So
maybe,
good.
Maybe Massimo knows what he's doing, and maybe he can spot some talent, and maybe that's worked well for MotoGP. So,
I know. How could Maurizio know he's too small?
Well, I also didn't know if he meant too small, like young, like small, diminutive, like Yuki Tsunoda is small.
Physically small, yeah.
Right, but small could have meant like I just wanted to make sure there wasn't some sort of like what did he really just mean that he's too small?
Physically small, yeah.
Right.
I don't know.
Because small could mean lots of things in a translation.
Look, a small F1 driver is never a bad thing.
Right. I think of, isn't that what you want? That was always the complaints against, Danica Patrick, right? She's small. She's a woman, right? Well,
yeah, right.
Find smaller men. I don't know what to tell you.
No
Hire
weights.
Women, right? Like,
less weight.
Right.
Yeah.
It's on you. Fix your car, Toto, right? Like,
Crazy.
So I think that I just thought that was such a weird, that he's too small, but clearly Toto Wolff just slid right in there, and
of course
things have gone well for him.
Yeah, I know.
Things have gone pretty well, both for Kimi Antonelli and for Toto Wolff.
That Toto guy's done pretty well for himself.
Just a bit, I don't know. Although I never felt more. Maybe it's the only time I felt the same as Toto Wolff is when they were asking about races, and he's like, I don't remember. The only races I remember, I like them because I like them when they're near my house. So, like, he likes Austria, not because he likes it or Mercedes does well, but it's near his house, right? Like, he can sleep at home.
Yeah,
so I was like, I like this. I like that, and then he's like off camera asking somebody, did we do well at that race? I don't remember, right? Like, I don't remember either, man. I thought maybe you'd remember, but no.
Right.
It's like, no. I like that race because I could sleep in my own bed.
Yeah,
It's hard
what's
to argue
up
with
with
that. Just,
I
just
don't
want
know.
something nice.
But he's done well, from his humble beginnings as a street mime in Hallstatt, Austria. He's done well for himself.
Toto the street mime. That I'd like him to be one of those guys in Vegas, like painted in gold, that just holds still, right?
It holds still. Yeah, right.
Or silver or whatever. That's great. I like that mental image of Toto Wolff, of a very tall street mime.
A very tall street mime.
Maybe he paired with Jean Todt, both the tallest and the shortest, like their own like twins, right?
Yeah, like Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right. I think the tallest guy and the shortest guy. It would be fun.
Right. That would be good. All right.
So I think there you go.
Cool.
So there you go.
All right.
Kimi Antonelli making the
Kimi
headlines.
Antonelli right there. Hey, I do have this.
You've got mail.
We've got a mailbag. Jen asks, hi, Todd, Grace, and Paul. Hey, Jen. How are you? I've been listening to the Japanese Grand Prix race review, and Todd and Paul's comments on the way that the software seemed to be driving instead of the drivers made me wonder if the FIA and Formula One have jumped on the AI machine learning bandwagon and gotten a little carried away, just like many other industries. What do you think?
Clippy suggests that you should only have 8 joules per lap when you're in Japan.
Right.
Clippy
Jen says, love the show and listen every week without fail. Thank you so much for listening, Jen.
Jen, you're a genius.
Yes.
So my question at the beginning of the show is, how did we get here? Clippy. You're right. That's how we got here.
It's how it all started with Clippy. Yeah.
I hate that guy. And now it's just worse because at least Clippy I could turn off. Now I can't turn off Copilot. That's great.
Yeah.
I'll let you know when I need your help.
Right.
Your non-helpful help, because nothing Microsoft does is helpful. Why would this be helpful?
Looks like you're trying to super clip. Can I be of assistance? No, Clippy.
Looks like you're trying to drive through a styrofoam barrier. Can I help you? Oh, gosh, it's genius. Yes.
It looks like you're trying to improve your
shitbox.
Can I be of help? No.
And
yes, Jen, I think the software is very much in line with what you're saying. I think, the whole world is all in on AI and the whole AI thing. Don't get me started. I'm in the technology industry. And so, as is your husband, Grace.
Yes.
And so, I'm sure he has a lot of great opinions about it too. But yes, it's that circular, that circular money trail that is self-propagating and just kind of feeding in a big loop, you think about the AI bubble and those kind of things. I have a lot of opinions on that. However, I do think I think the teams are probably using AI in anger. I'm sure they're using it to do lots of things, from code and development and engineering and math and all of those things. I'm sure they're using it prolifically. How those systems, function within the code that they're using and how they analyze the data that they harvest, I'm absolutely convinced they're all in. Probably more. My hunch would be Claude than Chat for that kind of work. Or if you're Lewis, Perplexity. But I do think
you noticed.
I do think they're all in on that.
I mean, AI has its place, right? And I think also if you're the one with the data and you're using it within your closed data cycle, right, that's different than what I assume we're all being forced to do at work, which is, I don't know, like, I never understood this. If I could do something that makes my job easier, why wouldn't I do that?
Right.
Because then I could go do something else. And if it means I can't do this job anymore, then I will go do another job, right? Like, I always think that's such a weird proposition that it's somehow, I am afraid of this technology because it's going to replace me. Well, it hasn't yet, because it just creates slop, right? It just creates
it's mediocrity, yeah.
And so it's kind of helpful when you're trying to, like, how do I write the sentence better, or how do I summarize these things? Maybe that's fine because it's kind of a closed data set that it's using, but You just make stuff up. How can I use that?
Well, and I think it's an important distinction you make about closed data loop and what they're using, because the challenge that I see, and this is my personal opinion, I could be way off. I'm not in the IT technology industry, but I am in the technology industry. But when you look at all of them, like Chat and all of them, Gemini, they're all learning on publicly available data that they can go harvest and scrape and those kind of things. And that's what they do. And that's fine. But, all of that public data is all out there. And eventually they're all learning from the same data sets. And so you could see this convergence where all of the AI, engines are starting to generate very similar answers because they're all using the same database. The real value, the diamonds, the gems in this is the data that isn't public. Right. That's the key. And that's what they want, right? So if they can get, and one of the marketing elements around that, and it's great because they put a lot of money behind the press and the media and everyone talking about, well, now with AI, as I want to say that I'm not saying SEO is dead, but somebody ought to call an ambulance, because the reality of it is now the media is trying to convince everyone that the way to get domain authority and GEO is you need to really update all that private data so you can become the domain authority that offers unique solutions to problem solution framework search, and that's what that looks like. But in Formula One terms, I'm not going to go in there and just upload my code set on how to make this Mercedes hybrid engine work.
That's what they're doing in the off season.
Right. So all the other agents can just publicly go find that and reference it for everybody else. So it would be really important and worked within a closed data set that they're actually doing a lot of modeling, code development, and those kind of things and simulation work. But I do think they're doing that, Jen. Yes, I do. I very much think they're doing that.
Yes, but I also like this more as a humorous attempt. So I guess it's one thing if Ferrari are using AI appropriately with their own data. What I like to think Jen's question is asking is is Dominicali right now ahead of their meeting in 2 days going, how do I fix Formula One? Right? That's what I like to take her question as, right? Like that it is more just Dominicali is like, I just took a lot of money from Disney and they're going to be really mad that this stuff sucks and nobody wants to watch it anymore. Right. What do I do? Claude? Right? Like that's what I want to envision. That's what he's keeping awake at night.
All right. ChatGPT. All right. Task. Function as the director, CEO of Formula One, and you just cocked up the entire series with a set of regulations, and now your main sponsors are getting mad and manufacturers are upset because the fans around the world hate this series. Exactly. How would you fix the sport? Enter.
And you turn the temperature way up and then go, whoa, that's a little too crazy. Let's turn the temperature down a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, and don't use any M dashes in your response. Enter.
That's right, because they'll know. They'll know.
They'll know Stefano's using it because there's M dash. I just want you guys to know, this is an honest, you can ask my wife, but I have been using M dashes for decades. I love M dashes. And I want to thank AI for ruining that for me, because now I can never use them because everybody thinks I'm using AI. And I give the middles to that because I was using Oxford commas and M dashes long.
Everybody should be using the Oxford comma. Don't drag the Oxford comma into this.
I'm just saying.
That's two different things. Don't be ruining the Oxford comma there.
I know. I'm just saying because AI does it. Everybody thinks when I see an M dash in mine. No, that's not true. But anyway.
Okay, so here's the actual question. Do you use semicolons? Because semicolons are the bane of my existence, and I hate anybody that uses them.
I don't. My wife makes so much fun of me on my semicolon use. It's terrible. I'm horrible at it.
Worst.
Yeah, my wife.
Two different clauses. Period. Separate sentence.
My wife is quite honestly, I call her Conan the Grammarian. I mean, she's like, okay, well, this isn't past pluperfect. I don't even know.
There you go. I don't.
Right. Yeah, she's amazing at it, and so she knows exactly how to use semicolons and all that. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Semicolons are the worst.
I'm lucky I can spell my name. So yes. So there you go. All right.
And you have a very simple, straightforward name. So
I do. 4 letters. It's pretty easy, right?
People can get it.
Okay. So that does it for this episode. I
Yeah.
hope you enjoyed. I'm sorry for the copious notes. I'm sorry that I read a
good.
lot, but there was a lot to talk about. I hope you've enjoyed that. You can share your opinion. Do it at theparkforme.com. If you like the podcast, spread the word. All right? Tell people about it. Send it to people. Retweet or whatever they call that now, post it somewhere and say, hey, this is the podcast I enjoy. If you watch us on YouTube, hit like, bell icon, share, all of that good stuff. It does help us out, folks. Our Patreon funding is a little down of late. I get it. Tough times. I understand. I'm not knocking anybody, but it does make it difficult. So because we could not and would not do this podcast if it wasn't for Patreon supporters, it's too expensive to do. So, with all of that said, Grace and I are going to be back next week. We're going to do this all again, and there's going to be
4 more
lots
weeks.
of news to talk about, because if I look at the calendar here, folks, it is the 6th. This Thursday is the 9th. All right?
Yeah.
And you know what that means. The meeting will have happened, and we will be talking about those 6 elements next week, so stay tuned for that. And until next week, when we come back to do it all over again, this is Todd, a.k.a. Negative Camber, saying so long, Grace.
See you next week.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. It's not what I feel I've got to prove at all. I don't really want to prove anything. I started as an amateur with no idea or no intention of becoming world champion. I was curious to find out what it was like to drive a car fast, to drive on a certain circuit, to drive a certain type of car.